And when we look at HIV and AIDS, that pretty much was the same type of sense about 20 so years ago. Again, as I said earlier, 20 years ago, if a person received the diagnosis of HIV, the immediate commentary was, and you're going to die. HIV, AIDS. The human immune deficiency virus, HIV, is a type of virus called a retrovirus. This virus, we're talking about HIV, that's affecting the global village today, is a virus which infects humans when it comes in contact with tissues such as those that line the vagina, the mouth area, the anal area, the eyes, or through a break in the skin. And so even though one is not having genital intercourse, if a person has a break in their skin and that part of their body comes in contact with the body fluid of a person that has HIV, it is probable, or it is very possible, for a person to contract the virus. Again, I know some people are like, why is he going through all of this in the middle of our church service? Why would he go through all this in church? Why? Because whole communities, whole families are being wiped out. Because we won't take the time and share and teach and learn and live together in positive interaction. So I'm handling my responsibility as a preacher of the gospel, as a member of the human race, one that loves people and want to see the best for people. So, we'll talk about HIV, AIDS. There are about 3 stages of infection that usually is involved. The initial stage of infection, which is called a primary infection, occurs within a week of someone acquiring the virus. So if someone had unprotected sex with another person that had the virus, and if they contracted the virus, symptoms would set in within about a week or so. And often these symptoms are characterized by a flu-like or mono-like illness that generally goes away within a couple of weeks. That's the first stage. The second stage of infection is called the asymptomatic infection, meaning that a long duration of infection may occur without symptoms. That's how it is. Now, remember we demonstrated earlier that several people, like for instance, the one person hadn't had sex for 3 years. And still the person was infected, but the person wasn't sick. The person didn't even know they had HIV because they had not developed any symptoms. Because with some people, even after they become infected with the HIV virus, it can be 10 or 12 years before they have a type of reaction that would suggest something is terribly wrong with you and you need to get to the doctor. That's why we have to educate ourselves now that getting an HIV/AIDS test is something everybody needs to do. It's anybody that has ever had unprotected sex, young, old, married, single, otherwise, you need to have an HIV test. I hate to hurt anybody's feelings, but that is the world we live in today. And it's not something that we have to fear. It's not something we have to run from, but it's certainly something over which we have to take responsibilities as individuals and as communities. I'm not trying to get no amens because I'm not preaching today. I'm educating. I'm educating so that, how old are you, young man? 8 years, and how old are you? 12. So that when these young men, amen, get, 21, 22, they'll still be HIV negative because they would have heard the information today and beyond that I've got to protect myself. That's why I'm doing this. And I'm also doing this because, again, with the statistics the way they are, again, all of us know somebody and are interacting with people that are living with HIV and AIDS. So we need to accept that reality, and we need to now embrace that reality with the loving presence of God through Jesus Christ. The very last symptom, or the third stage of infection, is the symptomatic stage, in which the body's immune or defense system has been suppressed, and then all type of complications begin. There are many different complications that are associated particularly with HIV and AIDS. I'm going on. When HIV grows, that is by reproducing itself, it acquires the ability to change or mutate its own structure. That's why it's so very dangerous, because a person can contract HIV and this virus can change itself in ways that it becomes resistant to the known drug applications. It's just like even now with certain strains of tuberculosis that we used to be able to wipe out with penicillin or whatever, the medicine, prescribed medicine in this country was. We now have strains of tuberculosis that are resistant to the drugs that we've been using for the last 40 years. And so you take a disease like HIV, which is much stronger in some different ways, and it has that same ability. That's what makes it so dangerous, and that's why it's so important. One of the reasons it's so important that everybody know their HIV status. Because again, folk are living long and healthy lives with HIV. But those are generally the persons that know their status and they're being responsible concerning how they care for themselves. I'm going to move on. Let's talk about the scope of this global pandemic. At the end of 2007, approximately, and these are not even exact numbers, because again, with so many people not knowing what their status is, we can only go on the people that actually get reported. But now let's think about all the people that don't know their status, and so it hasn't been reported, and some of these numbers I'm about to read would probably double, or in some cases might even quadruple. But according to the known cases, at the end of 2007, approximately 33.2 million adults and children were living with HIV in the world. 30.8 million adults and 2.5 children under 15 years of age. Also during 2007, an estimated 2.5 people became newly infected with HIV, including approximately 420,000 children. In the United States, approximately 900,084, or so say, roughly 1 million people have been diagnosed with AIDS. Worldwide, 2.1 million people died of AIDS in 2007. 330,000 were children under the age 15. By the end of 2005, the epidemic had left behind 15.2 million children that are now orphaned because one or more of their, or both of their parents have died from HIV/AIDS. Approximately 1/2 of all the new HIV infections are women.